Hello everyone and welcome back. This is the part 2 in our series about creating a full authentication system using Node.js and React Native. In the past video, we have created the two primary endpoints, the register and the login. In this part, we are going to create more three endpoints. The first one is going to be the retrieve password. Second one is going to be the forgot password, and the last one is going to be the notifications. I'm going to show you how we're going to use the digital passport or the JWT token to retrieve user notifications list. So I'm going to begin by going to the auth, and I will create the forgot password. And we're going to create also the second endpoint is going to be the retrieve password.js. And then we're going to create in our API, we're going to create a folder, and I'm going to call it notifications. And we're going to, inside notifications, I'm going to call the file notifications list, or actually let's just call it list.js. I'm going to the forgot password. I will import the SQL client. And as you can see, we import the bcrypt and then we create our function. So the only thing we're going to receive is the email. And let me actually define the steps we're going to do in here. I'm going to, the first thing we are going to, let me remove that, is going to be check if the email is valid. If the email is valid, we're going to create a OTP token, which is one-time password. It's going to be 6 digits or 6 numbers. And then we're going to update the OTP in the database. And finally, we are going to send the OTP to the user email. But in our case, we are not going to send it to the email. I'm just going to console log the token, the number in the console, so I can see it and I can use it to update my password. And here I'm using a simple if statement just to make sure that the user is providing an email, it's not empty. And then we're gonna execute SQL query. We use our SQL object to check if we do have the email exist in our database. If we don't have a record or results, we are going just to display an error. Otherwise, we are going to take the user details, and then we're going to create the OTP, or the one-time password is going to be 6 digits. And then we're going to transform this into string because the bcrypt only accepts string. And then we are going to say const hashed OTP. We are going to encrypt the OTP, and then we're going to set the expiry at, and I prefer to make it 10 or 15 minutes. We multiply 10 by 16, and because this number is in microseconds, we multiply it by 1000, so we get the seconds. And then we are going to execute the update query to insert these information inside our database. So we say update query, we update the users, we set the retrieve password token. Let me confirm the names are exactly the same. Let me copy, and let's go back to my code and the pass token expiry. Let me go back, and where user ID is equal to user.user ID, hashed OTP. Okay, all good. So I'm going to check if we updated the database successfully. We are going to return a success message. Password reset email sent. Of course, AI is suggesting we display the OTP, which is very stupid. But here I will just console log the OTP so I can see it in the console, because again, I don't have access on email API. So let's just make it simple and display the OTP in the terminal. And of course, here, if we have an error, we're going to display an error. Now, let me go back to my Postman. I will create a new endpoint, add request, and we're gonna change this, of course, to be post. And here, let's call it forgot password. And here we're gonna have the URL forgot password, and in the body we are going to send row. And actually, let's put this post, And here we are going to send email. Let me take the email from the database browse, and let's copy that. And let's go to the postman and let's send that. Okay, because the server is not running, let me go back npm run dev. And let's send again. Error cannot post. Okay, that's because I forgot to add the endpoint in the index. So I'm going to import forgot. Let's confirm that I have the right name. Okay, forgot password. And here I'm going to add the new endpoint. I'll save and then let's send again. Okay, password reset email sent. Let me confirm that in the database. Okay, as you can see, we have the token or the OTP, but it's encrypted. And let me see in the terminal. Okay, I have the password or the OTP in here. Now let's create our update password. So the forgot password is just create a token or OTP and put it in the database. And now in the retrieve password, the file we are going to create now, we have to send the OTP and the new password, and then we're gonna verify and validate the OTP. If it's correct, we're gonna update the password in the database. So let me create the file. I will create retrieve password.js. Oh, I have the file already. Let me import the SQL client, and also gonna import the bcrypt to encrypt or hash the new password. And here we receive the email, the OTP, and also we're gonna receive the new password. And let me, again, I'm being so generic in here, but of course, in the real world, in a production environment, you have to be very specific about errors. Here we're gonna, of course, we are going to select the user email from the database, and I check if we do not have the email. Of course, we display invalid email, and actually, in some cases, it would be smart to display a vague error, because some attackers or some hackers, they use such thing to see which emails you have in your database. Of course, if you have a small scale project, that doesn't matter. But if you have a large project, you have to, the error message, you have to be very careful about what queues you are giving to your users. And here I'm going to say else. If we have a record in our database, we are, of course, I'm going to take the user details and I will check if the OTP valid. I will take the OTP that a user has sent, and I will compare it to the one I have in our database. I have explained in the previous part, in the previous video, that you cannot just encrypt the OTP and query it from the database. It doesn't work, because every time you encrypt something using the bcrypt, even if you are encrypting the very same string or the very same text, you're going to get a different hash every time. So you will have to take the token from the database, and then you're gonna have to use the compare function from the bcrypt object, the bcrypt library, and you pass the OTP in a text, it's without being encrypted, and then you're gonna provide the encrypted token, and it will return true or false. So here I say if it's true, if it's not valid, actually, if it's not true, we are going to display invalid OTP. Otherwise, we're gonna proceed with the process of updating the password. So again, we are going to encrypt the new password. I will say the hashed password is going to be the new password with 10 rounds. And then I'm going to say update query is going to update users and set the user password to be the hashed password, of course, where the user ID equal to user.user ID. And finally, I will check if affected rows, if we have something updated in the database, something happened, we are going to display a success message. Otherwise, we are going to return with a failure. Actually, I forgot to check if the OTP is still valid. It has not expired or not. So I'm going to say if, let me, okay, before we compare it, let's just say expires at, and we take it from the information we brought from the database. We compare it. We say if the expires at, which is from the database, is lower than the current time, of course, that means the OTP has expired. And now let me save the file and let's go back into the index and I will import the file, import retrieve password, and then I'm going to define the endpoint. And let's go to the postman. I will say, actually, let me create a new request. I will say HTTP localhost retrieve password. And of course, I will go into the body. I will send the first thing is going to be, let me go back to the file, is going to be email OTP new password. Okay, OTP and email and new passwords. Let me put something just like that and let me copy the email from the database and the OTP I'm going to take it from the console. Okay, and let me send. Okay, password reset successfully. Let's try our login endpoint again. Let me try with the new information. I will pass that and then I will take the new password and I will pass it. Okay, the login has succeeded. So we have updated our password. Now the last endpoint, I will show you how we can use that token, the JWT token, to retrieve information, to retrieve the user's list of notifications. So I'm going to go in my notifications list. I will import SQL client and I have the list notifications function. I'm going to get the ID from the request .user. I will show you now how we're going to get the user ID. And here we check if we do not have the ID, we're going to display an error. Otherwise, we're going to go and fetch the notifications from the database and we're going to just return it to the user. Now, all good except one thing. We're going to define the authentication middleware. Now, in the old time, what we was doing, if we want to authenticate a user in a specific endpoint, we usually, we were hard coding the authentication logic in every single endpoint. But in nowadays, what we do is we just create a firewall or a middleware that will be like a wall between your API and the user. And every time the user sends requests, it has to pass through the firewall in order to reach the endpoint. So what we're going to do is we're going to define our authentication middleware. So let me create a folder. I will just call it middleware. Then I will create the auth.js and I will import the JWT from JSON Web Token. And here I'm receiving the token from the headers. So every time we send some requests from our front end, we will have to attach this token. And of course, we check if we have the token, and then we decode the token using the JWT secret that we have defined in our environment variables. And then we define the request user will equal the decoded object, the object that we got from decoding the JWT token. And based on that, that now include all the information that we like put inside the token during the creation or the encryption of the token. Like now we are in the login page. These are the information we are going to get when we decode the token. So you have to make sure that these information are useful to you in your other endpoints. So here let me confirm. Now I have the ID user dot, actually in the database, it's called user ID. And actually, let's put it here also. And now let me go back in the list. Now we receive the ID from the request.user, which is the variable that is being passed by the auth middleware. And let me save that, and let's go back into the index, and now I will import the auth middleware. Also I will import the list notifications. And now the way to put the middleware is to pass it as the second parameter before the function. And let's go in the postman. Let me take this token and let's create a new request. Let's actually go into the backend in the notifications, and let me create just test notification. And let me put the user ID to be the current ID users. Okay, the user ID is number 2. And let me save. And let's go in the postman, and let me create a new endpoint. Okay, the request is going to be posts. And what else? Okay, the URL is going to be list notifications. Let me actually confirm this is the correct name. Okay, and also you're gonna go in the body row, and let me just first pass the token, the authorization. I will choose the bearer token, and let's pass it in here, and let's send. Okay, we are getting the list of notifications. Okay, now we have completed the backend. We have created the 5 endpoints. In the next video, we are going to focus on the front end. I will show you how to create a complete UI and how to authorize the user and display the list of notifications. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.